Okay, now let's talk about the second major upgrade, I would say, or major release from the 2025 Shimano new reels. That is this Aldebaran DC. Now, the Aldebaran series is a light-oriented bait casting reel series. It started long time ago. It started from about 2009. The Japanese domestic model was basically the precursor for the super popular low-profile reel in North America, which is called Core MG. The Core MG is the US version of the Aldebaran. And in 2015, the Aldebaran got a major overhaul. It changed the appearance and everything else, which then followed up with another upgrade in 2018, where the MGL spool was used on the Aldebaran, and of course then bifurcated into a Aldebaran BFS as well. Now, this 2025 model of Aldebaran is kind of unexpected, but also expected. This is the first ever DC reel that features super lightweight. This is not the first time that Shimano actually used or installed a DC brake on a finesse type of a BFS type of a reel. So actually long time ago, it was around 2008. That was like 5 years after their first ever debut of Kakura Conquest DC brake. They actually installed the DC brake on a Kadif reel. The Kadif reel is actually the bait casting series for trout fishing. So that was the first ever DC brake being installed on a BFS reel. But this one is different in the sense of the real weight. When Kadif DC debuted, if I remember correctly, the weight of that reel was still 200 grams. So again, I don't have any script written today, so I'm basically just go with the website, and I'll just tell you whatever I thought about. Anyway, so okay, let's start. Well, the first part is super weird or interesting. So Shimano hasn't really decided on its price tag, and then also when will it be available is also not decided yet. So we don't have any of this information yet, which brings me to wonder if there has still been a lot of tweaks of the final model being made before they actually finalize the mass production version. This is just a high-level summary, so instead of going to this high level, we'll just go directly to those detailed features. Well, this first feature, we just covered that in the 2025 Antares. The same deal, it's the MGL Spool 4th generation. Now, I'm pretty sure the diameters, the parameters, which we'll be talking about in a short moment, of this Aldebaran DC is completely different from the Antares 25 model. But the main key feature of those 4th generation MGL spool is, like we said in the Antares video, it's sort of like a slightly convex design in the middle of the spool, which led to a very even layering of the lines, and in turn led to a highly optimized dynamic balance during the casting rotation of the spool. So the dimension of the spool of this Aldebaran DC is 30 millimeters diameter and 19 millimeters width. I have the previous generation Aldebaran open. Both of them are actually 30 sized spools, meaning their line capacity is 8-pound test Japanese fluorocarbon 100 meters. But the dimensions of the spools are slightly different. So the previous generation has a diameter of 32 millimeters and a 22 millimeters width, which is pretty much the typical width of the first generation MGL spool. It is much lighter though. It is 15 grams lighter than this DC. This DC Aldebaran is 150 grams. So I guess, due to this DC brake, the weight reduction just cannot be, identical to those mechanical or the centrifugal brake casting Aldebarans. But still, I would say, the weight reduction on this Aldebaran is still pretty impressive, being at 150 grams. To me, I think that 15 grams difference. Well, at least to me, it's hardly felt. But anyway, let's continue. So, yeah, we just talk about the dimension change of the spool, and then here is the main feature, which is the IDC5 DC brake being installed onto a small spool. So Shimano claims that this is their first time ever successfully installing a DC brake on a small diameter spool, which is a 30 millimeters diameter. This IDC5 digital brake is pretty much very similar to the one that was installed on the 2024 Metanium DC. The Metanium DC is IDC5. It's basically 3x5, so 3 major modules, and under each module you have 5 different level of settings, and this is similar. So the main feature of this IDC5 is the sort of like upgraded precision of control. It's up to 1,000th second precision. So this is pretty much the same diagram that was shown on the 2024 Metanium DC page. So the difference is, first of all, the setting is very similar still to the IDC5 brake seen on the 24 version of the Metanium DC. So you can adjust everything from the outside. You don't need to open the side plates or whatsoever. The difference is, I guess, the name. In the 24 version of the Metanium DC, the major settings or the major modules were named after the type of line. So basically PE line or monofilament line or the fluorocarbon line. But here you only have the LMH major module differences. So is there any specific difference of this Aldebaran DC's IDC5 versus the Metanium DC IDC5? We'll have to compare that once we get our hands on the Aldebaran DC. And other than that, to be honest, I don't see too much other difference. The S3D or Silent Tune, those are all existing features in previous generations. The Hagan body, X-ship, and the micro module main gears. And I believe this is a low weight aluminum alloy driving gear. And yeah, this is actually, well, the Aldebaran in this case, I think it doesn't really roll out too much of the features other than having the IDC5 installed on the Generation 4 MGL spool. It does come with a exciting drag noise. That means, if your fish is pulling a drag, you will hear those clicking noise, which I personally really like it. Let's take a look at the specific models that's available. So looks like there's only 2 gear ratios available. There is no low gear ratios available. Either the high gear, which is 7.8, or the extra high gear, which is 8.9. But because of the smaller diameter of those spools, even though the gear ratios are looks like higher than the last generation. Well, last generation doesn't even have the extra high gear ratio, but the high gear ratio is 7.4, which is lower than the 7.8. But again, due to the difference in the spool diameter, you can see the CPT or IPT. I mean CPT. Okay, centimeters per turn for the high gear is 74 centimeters per turn maximum, but this high gear is actually slightly, so 1 centimeter less than the previous gen. The line capacity, they are both 30 sized. Okay, so those are the same. And then the drag force, maximum drag force, because of the higher gear ratio that was designed into this DC Aldebaran to accommodate the smaller diameter of the spool, the drag force was dropped by 0.5 kilos to 4 kilos maximum, while the previous generation has 4.5 kilos of maximum drag force. Other than that, the previous version had 9+1 ball bearings. This guy has 10+1. At the same time, we also noticed that the handle length has been shortened by 2 millimeters. So in this newer version of the Aldebaran DC, the handle length is 40 millimeters, while the previous version has 42 millimeters. So overall, the frame does look a lot like the Aldebaran BFS that's currently in play. So yeah, I think this one's probably designed around the current version of the Aldebaran BFS. The color and the frame actually looks very, very similar to the 2022 Aldebaran BFS, and the spool is 2919. Yeah, so because this is FTB design, the FTB Shimano's own magnetic brake, so the spool is definitely not interchangeable. But again, you can see the bearings numbers and the handle lengths are pretty much copied from the Aldebaran BFS. So the price tag on MSRP on the Aldebaran BFS is around 50,000 yen. I guess we can guess maybe a little bit. Do you think the price tag of the new 2025 Aldebaran DC will be higher? Yeah, if you want to get a super lightweight baitcaster equipped with DC reel, I guess this is probably the only choice that's on the market now. But the other thing that was sort of taunted on the this website is basically saying this reel's main focus is designed to reach a very low trajectory for casting even light lures, but at the same time it still has some versatility to accommodate slightly higher weight lure castings. But I personally definitely won't be using this guy casting like gigantic glide baits and things like that. So here you have it. This is the second sort of major update from the Shimano 2025 bait casting reel lineup.